Yes, today I want to talk about a couple of questions that keep coming up from people that I talk to who are trying to connect with someone who's passed to the other side. They just have the same questions, and so we want to answer it again. I've answered it before, but it bears repeating. And the first question is this: a lot of people have a lot of angst about how their loved one passed, and they believe that they should have somehow been able to prevent it. Like maybe if I had, taken them to the doctor, or maybe if I had listened to my feeling that something was wrong and I took action on it and maybe spoke to them or did something, right? Did something I didn't do, or didn't do something that I did. That's really common. And that when someone transitions, people second guess themselves, they question everything. It's our desire to roll back time and change it, right? If only this, if only that. But the truth is that it's the soul that decides when it's going to leave. And everyone has a plan and there are no accidents. So if that person's time has come, and I don't mean their personality self, right? Their ego personality, because that part of us would never want to leave this world, wants to stay forever. Who really wants to die? Not many people, especially if you're having a great time. And yet, quite often, people do pass away, sometimes even at the height of their life, right? When things are going really well, or maybe even about to break through, and they were on the cutting edge of that, right? And then they leave, and people go, "Oh my God, why did they die when things were just getting good for them?" Well, there are no accidents, my friend. There are no accidents. The soul chooses when it's going to exit. You need to understand that from the broader perspective of your soul, of your oversoul, of source, right? But of you, because you're part of source, you understand on that level that this life is just a brief moment in eternity of many, many existences. So you have a plan. And if you leave, that means your plan was completed. Okay. So there's nothing that you could have done to stop your loved one from transitioning. I had a student of mine once say to me that she and her husband were working so hard to help him heal. I mean, he really believed that he could heal and was convinced that he could. And I've heard this story many, many times, probably hundreds of times at this point, where someone was just convinced, no, I can heal, I can conquer this disease, this illness. And they were just so determined, and yet they transitioned. So in those cases, like with this student, you might say, well, what went wrong? Why didn't they survive when they were so positive and they believed it with all their heart and soul? Well, this again is goes back to my point originally, that it's the soul that decides. It's not logical. This is where people in this world get really confused, because the spirit world is illogical, completely illogical, because there's a bigger picture. So your logic is just following this level of reality and seeing this is the only reality, right? Whereas there is a greater, much greater reality. So from that higher perspective, that is where the soul decides that it's going to leave. And there again, people would say, but why, how could my husband or my wife leave me? And they know that I'd be devastated without them. How could they leave me? But remember, their soul understands that you can, if you choose to, connect with them. And in fact, many spirits come back to try to get our attention and say, hey, I'm not dead. I'm right here. My husband did that. And he said, we're here to continue our relationship in our case, right? And so we could do that. And the same is happening for other people. I meet them all the time. So there is a reason why someone exits this world when they exit. And we may not be able to know for sure, until we meet them again on the other side and we reunite. But just rest assured that if they transitioned, it was their time, right? It just was their time. Now, another question people often ask, kind of sometimes on the heels of that one or separate altogether, but it's about reincarnation. And Ellen and I have a different take on reincarnation that's shared by some spiritual teachers, not all, but it goes like this. There is no such thing as actual linear reincarnation where you live this life and then you die and then you incarnate again and live another life and then another life and another life, right? In sequence, which would mean that you cross over and then you come back and then you die again and cross over and come back, right? Well, it doesn't really work that way. Past lives do not exist. What is actually happening is we are multidimensional beings and we're living concurrent lives. So the lives we think are past lives are happening right now because everything is happening now. That is one of the laws of creation. Everything happens in now. There is only now. And so that means that if your loved one has crossed over, you don't have to worry like, are they reincarnating without me? Am I not going to see them when I cross over because they've gone back into a body and they're here on the earth? Well, it's not like that because your spirit and their spirit is always on the other side. It's always in the spirit world. Other spiritual teachers will tell you the same thing. One of them is Abraham Hicks, who talks about that the greater part of us remains non-physically focused. That's true. The greater part of you, your soul, is always in the spirit world. You are basically, right, projecting a part of your consciousness, of your consciousness into these different realities because you're multidimensional. And so, of course, you can always connect with your loved one. Of course, you're going to return to them when you drop your body and exit. You're going to be with them. But not only that, you're with them now because remember, the greater part of you is a spirit, is there right now. So that this begs a question that one of my students asked me quite a while ago. She said, well, if we're always in the spirit world, then why do we even have to try to connect with them? Like, or why do they want to connect with us if we're already home with them, right? Like, why would they care? Why would they want to touch base with us here and continue our relationship? And I said to her, well, because they know that we're here and they were in this particular existence here with us at one time in a body, and we're continuing, but they're not no longer in a body. So why wouldn't they still want to, if it's possible for us because we believe it, why wouldn't they want to stay in touch? Why wouldn't they want to continue the relationship? Now, this isn't going to happen for everybody because not everyone has it in their soul plan that they're going to do that. But if that is in your soul plan, you'd feel it. You'd get the sense of it. The idea would come to you. You'd be open to it. You might have a few doubts. That's only normal. That's called being human. It's okay. But you would feel something pulling you, okay? That would be your own higher self kind of calling you forward, saying, yeah, this is for you to explore. You plan this. So if you did plan it, then you are going to stumble upon people like myself, right? Or hear about people having these relationships and connections to loved ones in the spirit world. That's just going to find you. And that means that's part of your destiny. Now, you could still choose to walk away from it and say, well, I don't want to do this, or I changed my mind. You have free will. You can absolutely change your mind. Okay. But if it appeals to you and the idea keeps coming to you and you just don't know what to do about it, I would suggest you at least explore it. Okay, because it's happening for a reason. If you're having this pull to it, and you want to find out about it. What is the worst thing that would happen anyway? Think about it. What is the worst thing that would happen if you opened up to connecting to someone you love on the other side, whether that's a parent, a sibling, a friend, a partner? Doesn't matter who they are. What is the worst thing that's going to happen? Nothing. The worst thing that would happen is that you would feel their love. That's what I have seen with people. They start feeling this sense of presence and love and connection. And for a lot of people, it starts opening them up spiritually. And they find more peace, and they find a way to not only manage their grief, but in time eliminate it altogether, because they start to understand that, oh, my loved one is still here. I can still communicate with them, and they're part of my life, right? So what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, the worst thing might be that you could go down that road and find that you don't want to continue this relationship, or put it on pause maybe because you're not quite ready to go fully into it. That's okay. No harm done. What's the big deal? You don't have to. You can stop your journey. You are going to return to them when you drop your body, when you physically die and you transition. So you're going to be together anyway. But in the meantime, if it does sound like something meaningful to you and fascinates you and you're curious about it, trust that curiosity, because that's the guidance of your higher self. Higher self speaks a language of passion, joy, excitement, curiosity, fascination. Like you can't stop thinking about it, and it feels good, right? So, those are just a few questions and things I wanted to explore with you today. There's so much more to say about this subject. You know, look at the other videos on our channel. I've recorded so many things for you to learn how to connect with your loved ones across the veil and develop yourself spiritually. So until next time, take care, and we'll see you then.